Hello and welcome. Welcome to Quilt Conversations Live. I'm Geraldine Wilkins, the Living Water Quilter. It's so good to be with you again. It's been a little while, right? A couple of weeks. How are you? Are you ruler quilting? Are you ready for a Q&A about ruler quilting? September has been the month for ruler quilting. I have been teaching ruler quilting in various ways live. I went to the American Quilter Society show in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and taught ruler quilting. Good evening, Sharon. Hello. Hello, Marcia. So glad that you're here. Thank you, Marcia. It is a fabulous show. And there's Lori. Hello, Lori. Should I say aloha? It's good to be with you. Hello, Cassie. So glad that you're here. And Sharon says, yes, I am ruler quilting. How was your teaching? We had so much fun. I just love to see the excitement that ladies have who are tentative about ruler quilting. They want to learn, but they are a little fearful, if that's the right word. And once we have the right tools and the techniques, it's not as hard as it seems. So we had fun. I enjoyed it. Hey, first timer, welcome. So glad that you're here. Hello, so glad that you're here. You didn't know that it existed. Wow. So this is a perfect time to join the conversation here on Quilt Conversations Live. I want to know your questions. I know I get a lot of questions that are kind of the same. Some of the first timers who've never heard of ruler quilting often want to know, can I do it on a home machine, my domestic machine? If that is one of your questions, let us know in the chat. I want to help you with some of your questions about ruler quilting. Now, who did I miss? Rochelle. Hello, Rochelle. How are you? She's in Oklahoma City. Welcome, welcome. Who else did I see here? I know I said hello to Marsha, Lori, Sharon, Cassie, and there's Veronica. Awesome. I can't wait to meet you as well. So, I taught several classes at the American Quilter Society show. We did Power Lines, which is the beginning workshop with a straight edge ruler. And we did some clamshells and some circles. And we had a great time. This particular event, I taught on a sit down long arm, a Q16 sit down. But it doesn't matter if it's a home machine or a long arm. All my techniques work for both. I want you to have success no matter what machine you're on. Okay, there's DR. Hi, so glad that you're here. Yes, what are your methods for keeping your rulers from slipping? That is an excellent question. That is a big concern. We don't want rulers to slip. I'm going to move this up a little bit. Now, there are multiple things that we can do. One, we can get rulers that already have a non-slip coating, which is fantastic. So you don't have to worry about that. Second, we can use something to put on the bottom of the ruler, and that can be one, stable tape, which I use that. Now, there's one limitation with stable tape. It works fantastic, but it is opaque. So when you use stable tape, and you can get that at sewsteady.com, when you use stable tape, you have to make sure you don't cover those important lines on the rulers. Many rulers have what I call reference lines. Those reference lines help us place the ruler in the right place so that when we stitch, we get the result that we want. So we don't want to cover up those lines. So you have to be careful. And then I just learned about another tool that we can use. I have not purchased it yet. I found it just this week, and it is a spray. It is a spray to make our cutting rulers and our quilting rulers stay in the right place for cutting or for quilting. It's a low tack spray. Someone mentioned it to me at the quilt show, I think. I think it was at the quilt show. And then I looked it up and I'm going to get it and test it. Hello, Beverly. So glad that you're here. Okay, so I get what rulers. Now, what will help me in the chat is if you put a Q and or question marks in front of your comment if you have a question. That way I can filter through and find the questions very quickly. So try and do that. Hello, Tina. So glad that you're here. Oh, you love the spray. So Tina says she has used the spray. What is the name of the spray that you use for your acrylic rulers so that they don't shift while you are quilting? We'd love to know what that is because I'm going to try it out myself. Sabrina is here. Welcome, Sabrina. So glad that you're here. So we have a questions. What rulers do I need and where do I get them, low and high shank? Now, there is a cornucopia of rulers out there, right? So, if you have never quilted before, I recommend just getting one straight edge ruler first. Maybe a straight edge with a curve, a gentle curve. Start with that. And you can get that from various manufacturers. I know that So Steady makes all the thicknesses, low shank, high shank, and they also make long arm thickness. There's also Quilter's Rule. I've been using their rulers and they have a nice assortment. And the thing with Quilter's Rule, their new rulers all have a tacky bottom. So you don't have to put staple tape on it. You don't have to put a spray on it. It's already tacky. The ruler will not slide. So that's Quilter's Rule. I love that. All right, let's see. Did I miss anything else? Hey, Liz here for the first visit. Wonderful. So glad that you're here, Liz. Fantastic. So we have long armors here. We have home machine users. All right, let me see. I'm scrolling down the questions. Let's see. All right. Question from Sharon. After you test that new product, will you provide us with evaluation of your thoughts about it? Yes, I will. I definitely will. I'll make a video about it. I'll share it live. I'll show you my experience with it. I will definitely do that. Okay, what else? Thank you for sharing the spray. Someone has shared the spray in the comments on YouTube. Here, I'll show it on the screen for those who are watching on Facebook can get the name. It's a non-slip coating. Yes, it's called Grippy. Thank you for sharing that. Awesome. Yeah, so, but if you can get a ruler that already has the non-stick on it, you don't need the spray. But I know many of us have already purchased rulers. Now, if you haven't purchased a ruler yet and you're looking for something new, you can get a kit. You can, with multiple rulers, you can start with a straight edge ruler, but you can also go to the Living Water Quilter YouTube channel and look for the Quilt Conversations live playlist. I have a video about a live session about different types of straight edge rulers. I show you several, a short one, a long one, some that are channel based rulers where you put the foot inside the channel as opposed to the edge. It's a good session to watch so that you can see which ruler will suit your specific needs. I think that's important. So, how many of you know that there is a ruler quilting challenge happening right now? All right. How many of you know that there's a ruler quilter challenge happening? Have you heard of it? Let me know in the chat. Did you know that there's a ruler quilting challenge? All right. Let's see. I see there's some conversation happening around the Maui fire in the chat, and Lori, and those who are in Hawaii, we are sorry that that has happened, and the devastation is really unimaginable. I am praying for them and for the resources that they need to rebuild their lives. That is just beyond comprehension. So, yeah, it's a terrible thing. That fire destroyed many structures, but many lives, many homes. And I think I've been seeing some things around social media from quilters who are raising funds or doing other things to help those who have been impacted by the fires. Okay. All right. Let's see. So, you haven't heard of it. Let me share it with you. It's called the Essential Ruler Quilting Challenge. I am a Bernina ambassador, and I put together as an ambassador a ruler quilting challenge, and it's on the Bernina blog. We also blog. The challenge started last week. Part 1 was all about straight lines. Part 2 started yesterday. Each part comes out on Thursday, and there are 4 parts, and you can join anytime. It's based on their Essential Ruler Kit. Let's take a look at that kit. This is the Essentials Ruler Kit. It has a straight edge, it has circles, a curved ruler, and a squiggle ruler, the long ruler right here on the very end. I give 4 weeks, which is 4 parts, where I do a video tutorial on each of the rulers. You learn 3 different designs with each ruler. Now, if you don't have the Essential Ruler Kit, then you can use a similar ruler, but of course, if the curve is different, then the results will be slightly different. And I just say it's a different design. The straight edge and the circle, you can use that really with any straight edge ruler, any circle ruler. Of course, if the lines on the ruler that you're using are different, then you just have to make some adjustments. This is a free it's challenge. It's a way for you to get started with quilting with rulers and to learn how to read the lines on the ruler. Now, I do recommend getting the Essential Kit. It's a fantastic kit. You will use these rulers over and over again. However, these are for a long arm. I can use it. I think the first week, which was last week, the long arm rulers work on Bernina machines because the foot that you use on the long arm also works on the domestic machine. So you can use them on both your home machine and your sit down if you have Bernina's home machines and a sit down. It doesn't matter the ruler thickness, but if you don't have a machine that will use the 1/4 inch thick ruler, then I would not get the kit because it's not available in low shank or high shank. It's only long arm thickness. Okay. You're welcome, Lori. So Lori says, I'm having trouble locating the rulers. My one Bernina store is out of the kit. Can I order them online from you? I do not personally sell them. I would check with another Bernina dealer to see if they have it and they will ship it to you, or ask your dealer to order them for you. I don't see why they could not order the kit for you. Yeah, that's what I would try. That's what I would try. So, what do some of those designs look like? for week 1. So don't worry if you have not started. If you haven't started, the blog series will be up at least for a few months. Maybe I think more than a few months, 6 months to a year, I think. So you can always go to it. But I hate to even say that, because then you're going to delay and you're going to say, I'll do it later. And you know what happens with I'll do it later? Later never comes and we don't do it. So you learn how to stitch straight lines. You learn how to use the spacing gauge. I tell you everything about the spacing gauge and why you need it. So I recommend that you watch the videos even before you stitch. Just go to the website, read also, and watch the videos. Get your supplies, get yourself ready, because sometimes, I don't know about you, I need to watch something over and over again. How do you get the ruler kit? You go to a Bernina dealer. You can go to Bernina.com, look up dealer, and look for one nearest you. And because there are Bernina dealers everywhere, you can just put in your address, your zip code, your area. You'll get several dealers that will be close to you, and any of them can probably ship the rulers to you. Yep, that's how you can get it. Let's see. And I will ask Lori if there's another way other than getting it through the dealer, but I don't think so. I think you have to get it through the dealer, but you never know. It doesn't hurt to ask, right? So straight lines started last week, and you learned several straight line designs and techniques. It's kind of the foundation. So if you're brand new, this is the foundation, because I teach you very specific techniques. And guess what? Week 1 is on a home machine. It's on a Burnett 79. So you get to see me stitch ruler quilting designs on a home machine as well as a long arm. But the technique applies to both. Okay? This week, which is it's circles. So yesterday, every Thursday, the new section or part launches. So yesterday launched part 2, and it's circles. And if you know me, I love circles. All right. Any other kits? All right. Great, Lori. I'm glad you'll be checking. Any other questions? Any additional questions about ruler quilting? So I said, can we do it on a home machine? A common question. Another common question is, my ruler is sliding, which you've asked, and we've talked about how to solve that solution. Another is, do you have to be experienced? And I say it helps if you know a little bit about free motion quilting. So if you are waiting for the rulers to arrive, or you don't have time to actually stitch, one, I would watch the videos until you're able to stitch, so that you are already listening to the instructions and the different tips and techniques. But also, it's so important to set up your machine for ruler quilting. So learn how your machine, your specific machine, likes to be set up. Take out the manual. And then again, there's a whole Quilt Conversations live in the library on the YouTube channel on machine setup and why you need to know that like the back of your hand. Now, I want to share a little quick story with you. I think maybe I shared it once before, but when I was a young photographer working at the Los Angeles Times, one of my mentors, teachers, said to me, he said, you want to get so good at knowing your equipment, meaning my camera, that you don't have to look at the controls. you know just by touching the camera where the different controls are. You know how to focus the camera, which direction to go, and you can do that while still looking through the viewfinder. He says you don't want to remove the camera from in front of your face, which is what we used to do, right? Viewfinder, to figure out how to set your camera. He says you want to know how to do that with the camera still in front of your face to move the controls. And when he said that, I thought, will I ever be able to do that? Because it seemed almost impossible, right? Seems too hard. So Marsha's asking, can we find them at our quilt store? Perhaps. Perhaps. If they sell acrylic rulers, you may be able to find them. It doesn't hurt to ask. Yes. So why do I share that story about the cameras? I share that because I want to encourage you to have a similar relationship with your sewing machine, whether you're quilting with rulers or sewing a 1/4-inch seam or doing applique. We want to know our machine so well. We want to hear what it sounds like when our machine is happy. We want to know when something doesn't sound right, when we know the needle is dull and we have to change the needle. We want to be able to visually see and hear when our machine is happy and when there's a problem. And so I encourage you to spend time setting up your machine for free motion quilting, which is what you need for ruler quilting. Learn the thread that works well with your machine. Learn tension. Practice tension. And one way you can practice tension to get better at setting tension is to take the tension and set it up really high and see what happens. Then reduce the tension until you get the tension back to the right tension where the top and bottom thread, that connection is in the middle of the quilt sandwich. You don't see the bobbin thread on the top and you don't see the top thread on the bottom. You want to practice setting tension. It's important to know how to set up your machine for success. Once you have that, it's going to be intuitive. So over time, I was able to hold a camera up to my face while I was working and not have to remove it if I needed to change settings. I could use my hands and know exactly where to move my fingers and how to focus and still continue to take pictures without removing the camera from my face. It took time, but it's well worth it. Do that with your sewing machine. Many of you probably already do that with piecing. You don't even think about it now. You know how to thread your machine. You don't have to bring out the manual every single time you are threading your machine because you know how to thread it, right? So that's just my recommendation, that you start with that. Let's go back to this example. So this week, oops, wrong thing. What I want to show you is all about circles. Ruler quilting circles and circle-based designs. And this one is one of my favorites. It's brand new design. Never ever seen before. Okay, so Sabrina asks, can you use a regular high shank ruler with a long arm? That depends. That depends on a couple of factors, right? Some long arm ruler feet are height adjustable. Like the one you see here in the picture, this is the Bernina sit down Q20 with a 72S ruler foot. It's an adjustable, ruler foot, which means I can adjust the height of the foot. which means I can lower the foot so that I can use it with high shank. So you have to find out if your ruler foot is adjustable so that you can use it with a high shank template, meaning going from high shank to a long arm thickness. That difference is very small, but your foot needs to be adjustable either by the screw on the side of the machine if the screw is not on the foot itself. Sometimes I will adjust when I attach the foot. I can raise and lower the foot height just by loosening the screw, lowering the foot, and then tightening. Or I can loosen the screw and push the foot up, then tighten it to adjust the foot height. So you can test that way. So I love this pattern, and it's based on using circles. And this is on the blog today, the We Also blog. Yes, it's one of those where you have to think a little bit. So I gave step-by-step visuals, and I show you step by step in the video. You see the design, how to stitch it. I go over that, and then I show you when I stitch it. So I show 3 ways to help those who are visual learners, right? Oh, you like it? I love it too. I love it too. It's a beautiful and fun design. It does take a little bit to learn this pattern, but it's well worth the effort. And why is that? The best thing to me about ruler quilting is, one, I don't have to mark as much on my quilt, right? We don't want to spend a lot of time marking. Rulers help us minimize. We do have some marking, but we don't have to do as much. 2, we want to stitch designs that are continuous without breaking thread. Who likes to bury a lot of threads? I don't. Which means you have to cut the thread, knot it, and bury it in the quilt sandwich because you have to start and stop so much to create a particular design. This design, it's continuous, 1 row at a time. Yes, I love that. And so it works on a home machine, not just long arm. So if you join the challenge, which I hope you will, always, every week, there's a new social media badge. You can download the image, share it on social media to let people know that you are participating in the challenge. Why do you want to do that? Let's see. Okay, question. Do I have to have a Bernina machine? No, you don't. As long as you can get the rulers or a similar ruler and you have a ruler foot, you can use any 2-inch circle. So this design is based on a 2-inch circle. And the 2-inch circle can be any ruler that's 2 inches. You can use it on your home machine. You can use it on a long arm, and it does not have to be a Bernina machine. You can learn the techniques, learn the pattern. That's what I love to do so that you can be successful. You're welcome. So, very little marking and continuous. We don't have to break thread a lot. I love that. Love it, love it, love it. So, that is part 2. It's all about circles. And I show 3 different designs with circles that you can do on your home machine or your domestic machine. So what other questions do you have about ruler quilting? What is one of your biggest frustrations when it comes to ruler quilting? Do you worry about your stitch length? Do you worry about consistent stitch length? Does your machine have stitch regulation? Let me know in the chat if that is one of your concerns. I know that for many who start with free motion quilting, they really want to have a stitch regulator. And, that's fantastic if your machine has it, but you don't have to. Every time I learn something new, I always have challenges. I always have problems because I'm new and I'm learning. So I have an expectation that when I'm learning, I'm not going to get the fantastic result that I want, right? Because it's a process. I know if I repeat the process over and over, I will get better. Okay, so DR says, yes, I do have that concern with the stitch regulator. Whenever you and I are learning without a stitch regulator, it doesn't matter if it's ruler quilting or free motion quilting, whenever it's new, the stitch length will be inconsistent. And I say just embrace that. There's no one coming to our quilt projects with a measuring tape to check the stitch length, right? And most likely we're going to use blending thread. So know that when you're learning in the beginning, and that's why I encourage us to practice on fat quarters, scrap fabric, orphan blocks, so that before we get to our quilt, we've had this succession of practice, right? Where the stitch length was very inconsistent. And the more we practice, the more consistent the stitch length will become. Because one, I'm more confident with my machine setup. Stitch length, I believe, consistent stitch length without a stitch regulator, I believe, happens one over time. Two, as we gain more confidence, and confidence happens when I know my machine is set up correctly. It sounds perfect. It's happy, right? I have practiced a particular design and I know how to move the fabric. I know the design. So when I know it, I have more confidence moving the fabric. So I will start to move the fabric more consistently. If I am unsure, meaning I'm learning, I'm going to start, stop, and therefore create inconsistent stitch lengths. But once I learn the design, I know how to do loops. I'm going to do loops. I'm not going to think about, how do I do a loop? Oh, do I go this way or that way? That, I believe, produces more inconsistency in our stitch length. But once we get more confidence in our machine setup, confidence in the pattern that we're learning, the stitch length will improve. All right. Hopefully that helped. So Sharon says, I'm scared to even start and ruin my quilt. And I get that. That's why we have to practice on small projects. On my YouTube channel, there's another Quilt Conversations live on practice to quilt. And I list several ways in which I practice so that when I get to the big quilt, I'm more confident to quilt it. I practice on mug rugs for gifts. I practice just on some scrap fabric and scrap batting. I practice on tote bags. I practice on charity quilts. All right, so let's see what else. Hopefully that helps. Let me see, there's another question coming in. You're welcome, DR. I'm glad that was helpful. Oh, Marcia, you're so sweet. Thank you. It's one of those things where I like to think about the life of quilting. We're artists, right? Think of musicians and other artists who practice over and over again. They don't go to the concert or the opera and they haven't practiced over and over again, and practice never ends. Even if they know the song, even if they've played it before or sung it with their vocal voice, they do it over and over again. Okay, Rochelle says, neat idea. She takes her practice pieces and she puts them together as a quilt as you go style. And she hangs it in her studio to see my growth. I love that. Rochelle, you've made such a valid point. Because often when we're in the middle of learning, we think, oh, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not really learning. And by taking those practice pieces and putting them on display so that you can see that you are learning, that you are growing. Hey, Deneen, so glad that you're here. Welcome. Okay, you have to make dinner now. Enjoy your evening. Thank you for spending time with us. Here's an example. For years, I wanted to learn how to speak Spanish. I took it in high school, I took it in college. Then, when I was a photojournalist, I was using some of it, but I kind of slipped a little and wasn't as good as I wanted to be. So I said I needed to dedicate some time to learning. So I went to Guatemala for 4 weeks, for a month, to live with families, live in the culture and a country where they speak Spanish so I could learn. So I went. I'm completely immersed. Everything is in Spanish. There's no resting, right? Except with other English speakers or Americans who were there learning Spanish as well. The idea was full immersion, whether it was speaking to the family I was staying with, in the supermarket, reading signs, full immersion. When I did that, it showed me two things. One, how much Spanish I did not know, how much I had to learn. It also opened my eyes to the cultural nuances of language. And it just happens intuitively. There's subsets of nuances in language based on a profession, based on hobbies. So if someone in English wanted to talk to me about motor racing and they had all this different lingo, I wouldn't know what they meant because I'm not a part of that subset of the culture, right? So just imagine in another country, right? So I actually came back home a little discouraged, thinking that I had not learned enough because it was so hard, completely immersed. And I didn't think that I spent my time well, even though I went to the market with my teacher. I had a personal teacher. We went to cafes, we went to all kinds of places so that I could learn the different nuances of the culture and the language. Okay. So Marsha says she took Spanish at 14. So Celeste says, where can you purchase the templates, the circle straight clam you mentioned on TikTok? Ah, all right. So glad you're watching on TikTok. Fabulous. You can get circle and clamshell templates. If you're talking about the video I posted today from the American Quilter Society Quilt Show, you can get those on Quilter's Rule website or Sew Steady's website. They both sell clamshell rulers. The style of it may be a little bit different. You can get them for your home machine or a long arm. The thickness, right? You need a home machine thickness, which is thinner than a long arm thickness, which is 1/4 inch thick. Now, the Quilter's Rule All their rulers now have a sticky back. So that means it will stick to the fabric. You don't have to use stable tape or any grippy spray to make the template non-slip. It already includes that. So that's quiltersrule.com. Um yeah, so I hope that answered your question, Celeste. So anyway, getting back to the story, when I got back to the US is when I realized that I did make progress. In immersed in the culture, it felt like I did not make any progress because it was like PhD level in terms of the amount of things that I had to learn in terms of acquiring a language and the nuances of the culture and the language. It's a lot. But when I came back to a English speaking country, I realized that the amount of Spanish that I learned in a month, 4 weeks, was exponential because I had that comparison. So when Michelle says she takes her free motion quilting practice pieces, put them together as quilt as you go, and displays them in her studio so that she can see her progress, I think that is such a good idea. Because if we don't see, at least for me, if I don't see measurable progress, I might get discouraged and then just stop. Right? So track your progress so that you can keep going. Hopefully, that story and Rochelle's suggestion will help. Oh, awesome, Marcia. That's great. Thank you, Lori, for that suggestion. Awesome, awesome. All right. So, what else is going on in the quilting world? Now, remember, if you take the challenge, it's practice. You're learning and you're also practicing multiple things so that when you get to your quilt, you're ready. But what else can you do in between the practice? I think I shared these with you. As I was putting together the videos for the challenge, I took my pre-printed panels and I said, I'm going to take one panel and I'm going to quilt it with one of each of those rulers inside the Essential Ruler Kit. Because ultimately, we want to see how these techniques and designs can work in a quilt. And so I like to transition from a whole cloth piece of fabric to something that looks like a quilt. And a pre-printed panel is perfect for that. So here's an example. This is the straight line example of I practiced. Now I want to practice on something that looks like a quilt. How can I quilt this in a creative way? So this was fun, right? Then the next ruler. The next ruler, circles. It's the same quilt panel, but now I put circles and a few lines on it. Having fun. Doesn't the panel look different now? Completely different look than the previous one. And these panels are 12 inches, which means it's a small time investment. Okay, so question. Do we post pictures of our progress during the challenge? Yes, 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 yes. Please do. And the reason why you want to post the pictures, you want to post the I'm all in social badge to let people know that you're in the challenge. That kind of holds us accountable. When we post that and we tell people we're participating, it holds us accountable to do it and then to share your progress. So you want to do both. So it holds you accountable and it lets others know that they can participate. And it encourages those who says, you know what, I didn't think I was going to do the challenge, but after seeing Rochelle's progress, I want to do the challenge. So just like you see my work here or the work of other quilters, we get inspired and encouraged to make progress in our own quilting journey. And that's my desire, is to help you be inspired to move forward in your quilting journey. Hey, Tina, thank you so much. Awesome, awesome. And now here is the squiggle ruler. Same quilt panel. 12 inches is just a quilt block size, right? 12-inch quilt block size. When I do it this way, that says to me I can take one design and repeat it in every quilt block if all the quilt blocks are the same, right? I can make a continuous design. Straight line, I'm combining rulers. Sometimes we want to use just one ruler to do all the quilting. Another time we can combine straight lines with another type of ruler to get something different. When we do this kind of practice, again, it just builds our confidence. It helps us to see how something can be quilted so that when we get to the larger quilt, we can remember those smaller projects and say, hey, I really like that design in that other piece. I'm going to try it in this project. Yes. Okay. What else is happening? Well, I know, ladies, remind me where you are watching from. I know we have Nebraska, Hawaii, Florida. Do we have Virginia? Where else are you ladies from? Because I'm thankful for the opportunity to teach in person. And if you are in the Minnesota area, you can take a quilting class with me in person. In person, I'm going to be at the quilt shop called Sew With Me in Minnesota. Sew With Me, I'm going to teach straight edge and gentle curve quilting with one of my favorite rulers, and that's the 12-inch arc. It's a beginner ruler quilting class where I share all the basics. I get to watch you and encourage you and give you tips so that you can succeed in ruler quilting. That is next week. So with me, I'm teaching 3 ruler quilting classes: a beginner, which is this one, power lines, and then dot to dot, which is my favorite snowflake template, and we make some really fun designs with this ruler. It's fantastic for borders, for quick edge to edge quilting, which sometimes we need that. We don't need to have a lot of custom quilting. We need really fast patterns. And this one does it, and it's a beginner friendly class, right? We love beginner friendly. Let's see. All right, so we have Delaware, we have Oklahoma, Georgia, Illinois. Michigan. I was in Michigan last week. I should have waved hello as I was flying by. Hawaii, Carolina, awesome. Indiana, and Omaha, Nebraska. Awesome. And Missouri. Awesome. No one from Minnesota. Oh, well, I will be there teaching 3 classes, and I'm really looking forward to it. So, the last one is one of my favorite rulers, and that's the clamshell. Clamshell ruler is another fun ruler that is beginner friendly. There are some advanced techniques that I share in this, but it's still really a beginner friendly class. I try and make it as simple as possible. So there are so many ways that we can progress in our ruler quilting journey. What other questions do you have before we sign out for tonight that I didn't answer about ruler quilting? What are you struggling with that would really help you move to the next spot? Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. What will help you? Are you still nervous about quilting in general? The big quilt? Does ruler quilting seem too hard? Yay, Texas. Let's go, Houston. Tina, you took the class with me at QuiltCon this year, right? Okay, so should we bind our practice block first, or did the ruler quilt the block and then bind it? I will ruler quilt the block first, just like a quilt, and then bind it after. Always do the binding after. All right, yes, get the rulers. Let me know if you have any additional questions about rulers for beginners. Remember to check out the Quilt Conversations live replay when I talked about ruler quilting tools for beginners, designs for beginners, and I share in both of those designs based on those panels I just showed you. I really show that in detail, but also for the tools, I talk about different types of straight edge rulers. Any tips on storing? Oh, that's a good question. I store in multiple ways. Right next to my machine, I have a tray with slots, and I like to use office supply, office supply types of storage. Things like for a file folder, I like to use something that normally you put a file folder. I will use that to hold my individual favorite rulers that I use all the time. I use a file folder bin that you have vertical folders in, and I can slide my rulers that I store long term, and it has a handle on it, close it, and I can open it up, and each file folder, because it's a hanging folder, has the individual rulers, or I put the rulers inside a pencil case holder. You know those pencil case holders with the window, the plastic window? I will put the rulers and the instructions in a pencil case holder. When it's when school is starting again, those usually go on sale for like $1 a piece. And so I can store many of my rulers with the instructions, and they have 3-ring binder holes in it. So that's another thing I like to use. Hey, Bonita, so glad that you made it. You can watch the replay. Yes, Tina says she loved it. And by the way, if you don't know, Tina was interviewed here on Quilt Conversations Live. She is a amazing quilter and community leader for quilters. Go check out the interview under Quilt Conversations Live podcast. She loves making scrap quilts, and she has a special ruler that she uses for that. 2 rulers. Go check out that interview if you like scrap quilting. You'll learn more about Tina and the retreats that she puts on for ladies. Go check that out. What else? Okay. So if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed today's session, and don't keep it a secret. Let your friends know that we gather here on the first and normally third Friday. We didn't meet the third Friday of this month because I was in Michigan teaching. But also, don't forget to visit my website. I have a lot of resources on the website. There are blog posts based on some of the interviews, like you can read and learn more about Tina on my blog and find out how to get her ruler for scrap quilting. You can read information about the 10 steps to stress-free machine quilting. That's also a blog post. There's the course, 10 steps to stress-free machine quilting. Those 10 steps, I talk specifically about how I go all the way from washing the fabric and preparing and cutting the fabric, how each of those steps ultimately have an impact on our machine quilting experience, how we quilt it with free motion or ruler quilting. I go through all that. And then for those who don't think they need all 10 steps, I've broken it out into individual video courses. They're like little mini courses. Go take a look. All right. And one of the courses that is a ruler based course is the Lydia tote bag. This is all about perfecting our skill with using the piecing and the lines in the ruler, no marking, to quilt this tote bag. I show you how to do it, how to do 3 different ways to quilt a whole cloth. There's so many different things that you learn in this course. And this is one of the students who made the tote bag and how she quilted a concentric hexagon on the back. Diagrams. I show you how to create this design so easily with very little marking, but using all the lines on the ruler to do it. Okay. So don't forget to visit and follow me on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and other places, Facebook. Ladies, it's been fun. Hopefully I've answered all your questions. Thank you, Marsha. I'm glad you liked the bag. Thank you, Beverly. So glad you could join us. All right, ladies, it's almost 8. We still have a couple more minutes. What other question? Did I miss a question about ruler quilting? How many of you are going to join the challenge? Either go to the We All Sew website, watch the videos, gather your tools, start preparing to put that on your list because it can be your practice, your learning and practice, right? Let us know. Oh, wonderful, Lori. She remembers remembers the interview with Tina. Awesome, Sharon. You have a good weekend too. So glad that you could be here, ladies. The main thing, whether it's ruler quilting or anything else, ladies, we know we need to practice. And challenges are a way for us to learn and to practice and to do it in community, to do it with others. So here's something that I'm going to share. If you join the challenge and you share the social media badge to let people know, which will hold you accountable, and you share your progress, whether it's on Facebook, TikTok, or any place, doesn't matter. Send me tag me on the image or send me an email, and I will share your progress live here on Quilt Conversations Live. So if you have a result that you are very happy with, I will highlight your work here on Quilt Conversations Live. I want to do that because when you do, it will encourage you to keep going and it will encourage someone else to start. And I want us to encourage each other. You are welcome, Rochelle. And Rochelle, as I'm sharing this encouragement to send, I'm hoping you will be one of those quilters that will do it and will send me images so I can share your progress in the challenge. I want to do that. Yes, thank you, Cassie. It was good to see you again here tonight. Yes, thank you, Marsha. Awesome, ladies. So participate in the challenge. And it doesn't matter, don't feel any pressure to do it right away. Remember, it will be available and there are 4 parts. So any of those parts, straight lines, circles, there's going to be curve and the squiggle ruler, all of those. I would love to see your work and then share it with everyone else so they can see your progress. All right, ladies? I will see you next time for another Quilt Conversations Live. It was always, as always, good to see you. And I will see you another time. You are welcome, Lori. You're welcome. You are welcome. All right, ladies, good night. I'll see you next time for another Quilt Conversations Live.